TheLightstream.net presents On the Way to a Smile. Case of Denzel.
Midgar was divided into two very different worlds. An upper city, a steel acropolis high above the ground known as the Plate. Then there were the slums, areas beneath the Plate that never saw daylight. The people who lived there led chaotic but hardy lives. It was thought that this thriving light and shadow, built by a single enterprise known as the Shinra Electric Power Company, would be a sight that endured forever. 4 years ago, when the livestream came flowing out of the ground, many residents believed that Midgar would crumble and fall. With only their personal effects in hand, they fled their neighborhoods. And yet, the people were unable to distance themselves from the City of Steel for long. Perhaps they thought they could return to their normal lives of blissful ignorance if they stayed close. Before long, a new town called Edge was built along the avenue stretching east from Midgar. Edge's main avenue started at the border of Midgar's 3rd and 4th sectors. The town then expanded to the north and south from there. From a distance, it seemed a magnificent city, but most of the buildings were actually constructed from Midgar's debris. The streets smelt of iron and rust. Johnny ran a cafe that sat along the main avenue. It was a humble establishment in a patch of open ground, with a stall, some tables, and a few chairs where he could do some simple cooking. He named the cafe Johnny's Heaven. It was named after 7th Heaven, a bar that once existed in the slums of Midgar's Sector 7. Johnny had been in love with the barmaid there for a long time. Her name was Tifa. Several months after the bar was lost during Sector 7's collapse, Tifa reopened a new 7th Heaven in Edge. At the time, Johnny was among the masses who couldn't figure out how to go on, and was moved by the strength of spirit with which Tifa lived. And so, with those thoughts in mind, she became more than just a former object of his unrequited love, but a respected figure in Johnny's heart.
I'm going to live just like Tifa. But how? I know! I'll run a business too. I'll give hope to those who have lost their way.
That was the start of Johnny's Heaven. Customers who came there were subjected to the tale of Johnny Reborn again and again. As a result of that, many of them visited the new 7th Heaven, wanting to see Tifa, and wound up becoming her regulars. Unaware of this, Johnny continued to open 6 days a week, waiting for an audience who would listen to his tale of love and hope. Eventually, someone did come. It was a boy. It was pretty rare for a child to come in alone. He was Denzel, a young boy who was special to Johnny. He was part of Tifa's family. Johnny was going to put all his heart into his service for Denzel.
Make yourself at home, Denzel.
Johnny bowed deeply, lowering his head, but Denzel only glimpsed at him for an instant before heading to the farthest table from the stall.
Come closer and sit over here.
No, I'm meeting someone.
He's here to meet someone. He's dating already? But he's still a kid. Well, whatever. I'll watch over him. This is all part of my special service.
On a date, huh? Go get her, kiddo.
Coffee, please.
Is he ignoring me? Ah, he must be shy.
Give me a shout if you're stuck. I know how to talk to the ladies. Trust me.
Suddenly, Denzel stood up from his seat.
Is he angry?
Johnny was watching Denzel, but the young boy's gaze was directed at the entrance. A man in a plain suit was standing there.
Welcome!
Johnny greeted the customer, but averted his gaze. He was Reeve, a former Shinra executive. It was the first time Johnny had seen the man, who was now leading the WRO, up close. He had a reputation for bringing death.
What business does a guy like him have in my shop?
Reeve glanced around at his surroundings cautiously as he walked over to Denzel's table and sat down. It seemed a habit of his. Something struck Johnny.
Reeve was inviting Denzel to join the army. I have to stop them somehow. If something like that was to happen in my cafe, then I wouldn't be able to face Tifa again.
With that in mind, his expression remained calm as he glared at Reeve.
A coffee, if you don't mind.
Johnny was shocked at how dignified he seemed.
Yes, right away.
Johnny stood up straight as he answered, then scurried back to the stall.
Not an easy person to deal with.
Denzel was surprised that the head of the WRO himself would come to interview him. He stood there, unable to get as much as a greeting out.
Have a seat.
Reeve's voice snapped him out of it, and he nervously sat down.
Now then, Denzel. I'm short on time, so let's get right to business. I should warn you up front. Our organization has changed. Gone are the days when we welcome just anyone into our ranks. If it's volunteer work you're after, contact your local leaders. The WRO is an army now.
Yes, sir. I'm prepared for the dangers.
I'm sure you are. All right, tell me about yourself, starting with your background.
My background? I'm only 10.
Yes, I know, but even a 10-year-old must have a background.
Denzel was the only son born to Abel, a workaholic employee of Shinra's Division 3, and Chloe, a sociable woman with a knack for housekeeping. The three of them lived in Shinra's employee housing area on the Sector 7 plate. Abel, who was born and raised in a provincial town, was satisfied that he could raise a family in the upper levels of Midgar's Acropolis. However, he believed he always needed goals in life, and his new one was to live in the executive housing area of Sector 5. When Denzel reached the age of 7, Abel was promoted to head of division. That meant he had the right to live in the Sector 5 housing. Hearing the news, both Chloe and Denzel prepared a surprise party. Sumptuous food and childlike decorations welcomed home the man of the house. It was an enjoyable dinner. Denzel listened to his gleeful father tell jokes and talk about his life.
Denzel, you're lucky to be my child. If you were born in the slums, then instead of chicken, you'd be eating rats.
They don't have chicken?
They do. Because everyone is so poor, they can't afford it. Since there's nothing else they can do, they catch rats with spears. Dirty gray rats.
Ew. Sounds disgusting.
What does it taste like,
Well, Denzel?
Denzel grew uneasy, looking back and forth at his parents' faces and his plate. His father looked down, trying not to laugh. Denzel remembered one of his mother's sayings.
There's no meaning to life without smiles.
They're both trying to scare me again. Neither one of you is fooling me, okay?
What mean parents?
They just used to joke. I didn't mind being teased.
I'll tell you this, but as far as I know, rats weren't eaten in the slums. The rats in the slums at the time were...
I know. I know about it well.
Oh? Did something happen?
It's a long story.
The phone rang while Denzel was watching the house. It was Abel.
Where's your mother?
He seemed angry.
She's out shopping.
When she gets back, tell her to call me back right away. Never mind, I'll call her.
He knew his father was troubled and grew anxious. He couldn't settle down, so he turned on the TV and waited for his mother to come home. On the news, they were showing Mako Reactor 1, which had been blown up just days ago by a group calling themselves Avalanche.
Dad's been busy because of this. That's why he was cranky. Not because of me or Mom.
After about an hour, it wasn't his mother who came home. It was Abel.
Where's your mom?
She's not back yet.
Okay, I'm going to look for her.
Abel was out of the house before he even finished the sentence. Panicked, Denzel went after him. They went to the market and found Chloe right away. She was happily talking to the butcher. Abel told Denzel to stay put and walked toward the shop. Without a word, he grabbed his wife's wrist and practically dragged her away. When he heard his mother's protests, Denzel tensed up.
Would you let go of me? What's going on?
They're going to destroy Sector 7. Quick, we need to take shelter in the Sector 5. There's a new company residence for us there.
Destroy it?
The scum that blew up Reactor 1. Will they pick their next target?
Denzel looked at both his parents' faces. There was no sign of them stifling laughter. This was no joke.
Number 7.
He grabbed both his parents' hands.
Come on, let's hurry and go.
But the two didn't budge.
But we can't just... What about the neighbors? Our friends?
There's no time, Chloe. Besides, this is classified. I'm breaking rules here, risking my promotion.
Irritated, Chloe shook her wrist free.
Denzel, go with your father. I'll catch up with you soon, don't worry.
After giving Denzel's hand a firm squeeze, Chloe left and started to run.
Chloe!
Abel ran after his wife, but after a few steps, he came to a halt. Seeing how much his father was suffering, Denzel's heart ached.
He wanted to go after her, but I was holding him back.
Denzel, we need to go.
No, we can't leave Mom here.
Mom will be just fine. You can't blame her for carrying.
A tall man was dragging a suitcase along as he walked at the borders of the 6th and 7th sectors. Abel called out to him. When the man realized who was calling out to him, he quickly ran over.
You're still here, sir? The Turks have already deployed. By now they should be nearly done planting the explosives. My buddy has a vehicle prepped. We should...
Not in front of my son.
Sorry, sir.
Denzel knew quite a lot about Shinra, thanks to all he had heard from his father since he was little. The Turks were the ones who did all the dirty work.
What did he mean that the Turks planted the bombs? Are the Turks with Avalanche?
He stared at the ground, wondering what they were talking about. Sensing his father's gaze, he looked up.
Arkham, could you take Denzel over to Sector 5 for me? The housing area, number 38.
Abel never took his eyes off his son.
No!
Do as I say. Go with Mr. Arkham. I'm going to bring back your mom.
We'll go together.
Is it all right with you, Mr. Arkham?
Of course, sir.
Here's the key. I'll leave my son with it.
From the inside pocket of his suit, he took out a key and forced Denzel to close his hand around it.
Dad.
I bought us a new big screen TV. Watch that while you're waiting for us.
After ruffling his son's hair, Abel gave him a gentle push toward Arkham and started running in the direction of Sector 7. Denzel almost lost his balance, but Arkham was there to catch him.
Alright, let's get going. I'm Arkham. I work for your dad. It's nice to finally meet you. He never stops talking about...
Denzel squirmed and tried to run off, but Arkham stopped him.
I understand how you feel, but I can't disobey your father's orders. Let's just go to Sector 5, then you can do whatever you want, okay?